Pathfinder. Making contact at point 003. Unknown horizon.
Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
It still caught me off guard this week. I think it's because we're starting early. I just got here and we started talking, and we can't sit there for 3 minutes and not talk about it. So we just thought, let's just jump in.
Yeah. So the 3 minutes, I'm sure. Here's
we are talking this week about Ahsoka Part 8. The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. Oh my. Yeah.
Yep.
Did
I say I'm Ralph already? Okay.
I'm James. He's Ralph.
So before we started, you told me, okay, here's the thing. We're on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
That's where we do all of our
that's my main social now.
Yeah. I suggest everybody do it. I now have 2 accounts, and so
congratulations.
Fuck. Guys, this is going to be, can I tell you something? So I play Fireball Island every Sunday with friends, and there's a new iOS, and we found out recently that the FaceTime camera picks up on cues. So if you're listening to this on an audio podcast, this is what you're going to see. You can it picks up on clues.
Oh my god!
Based on hand gestures, and I didn't know it was going to do that on StreamYard.
That's amazing.
We went through all of them. We went through all of them.
Does it? Where have you got that? Is that on the Mac OS?
It's my Mac OS FaceTime camera.
Oh, maybe I've not. Oh, okay.
I wish I could remember all of them. No, that wasn't one of them.
Oh, I need to go and check my settings and see if that will work with using.
I need to get rid of that because
pretty funny.
I don't need balloons flying behind me, especially for this episode. Listen, so we do our chatting on Blue Sky, and I kind of laid into this episode, and I told James, I'm like, I probably won't be this mean on the show because, you know, we like to keep things positive. This episode has been making me more and more mad. I thought, you know what? I'm going to sleep on it. I wake up 7:30 bright and early, have some toast, and be ready to go. And I'm more mad than ever.
Oh, man.
I really am. But I could say the positive thing is Solo's back on top.
I mean, cool. That's great. I'm happy for you.
Here's the thing. And I know it's not about the destination. I know it's the journey. And one of the things is, like, 7 of 8 of these episodes have been my favorite Star Wars stuff in the Disney era.
That's great.
And I'm like, if it doesn't stick the landing, I'm going to be sad.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, not only did it not stick the landing, but it undid some of the stuff in previous episodes, which I'll get into.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I get that maybe, like, it can tamper your feelings on it if you like, because this episode wasn't my favorite of the season. Probably was in the definitely in the lower half of my. Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it less on my second viewing, which is the first time that's happened all season. All of the others I've enjoyed more on a second viewing. Yeah. And there's definitely more so than any other episode. There is things that I'm like, what and why? But I feel like that comes with a season finale. And Disney Plus shows, when have they stuck the landing? That's the problem. And they definitely, at this point, it's become a
Mandalorian season 2.
Oh, with the Luke stuff, yeah.
Really? The balloons?
I
can't do the number 2 and the balloons don't come? Oh my gosh.
I
think there's this one.
These are great. I love this. I love it because they're mostly all positive, and you're not about this episode, so it makes it even funnier for me.
It might,
People who are just
look
listening
like a
on
clown.
audio, just go and watch a clip of this. Maybe we'll clip some of this out and put that up on a social thing, just because we haven't done that in ages and it's really fun.
Right. The chat is hopping. Do you want to say hi to the
chat?
chat?
Yeah. Let's say hi to some people. I'm sure more people were going to join us, and they'll be going to like.
StreamYard is here.
Yeah, StreamYard's here. Super Hans is here. With
Super Hans, who later he says it's Alex. Alex, who back in 2009 was producing a Lost podcast documentary.
Yep.
And that podcast documentary never got released, but Alex was cool enough to give us like over 100 hours of footage.
Amazing. Alex, give me a message on Twitter. I'm still on there. Same name. Give me a message on there, and I'll send you a Blue Sky invite.
Don't send the Blue Sky invite through Twitter.
No, I won't. Why not?
Because apparently, Grand Admiral Thrawn of Twitter doesn't like that and will flag your account.
Oh my god. Send me an email. Or I don't know. We'll figure it out. Ralph's probably got your number or something. We'll sort it out.
Yeah. Scott D is here. Lucha Johnny. Oh no, Lucha. Hasn't watched the show yet. The episode. All right. Yeah. Good luck.
He might like it.
He might. People seem to like it.
Did.
According to Twitter, people liked it. What kind of sparked us to start this episode early was you said, I watched it a second time, and then the look on your face looked like something switched. Okay.
No, not a complete switch. Things that I'd already thought were highlighted more. The first note that I made before I sort of was making my notes as I watched the episode, which is how I watch it the second time around, was where are Balin and Shin? And it is glaring. It was glaring to me the first time. I kept on. It was in my mind every time there was a fight and someone was on their own or something happened. I was like,
that's
okay,
one of the things that undid.
Yeah.
The season for me. We put so much stock into these characters. Balin was the most interesting.
I think that's a key point. It's not like we did this as a quote unquote fandom or us as a podcast. The show made them important.
And all of my criticisms aren't based on expectations.
No.
Because throughout this series, I've had expectations of like speculating what's going to happen. Oh, that'd be cool if this happened. But they were twisting and turning and doing things differently than what I expected or hoped for. And it was amazing. Everything was amazing.
Yeah.
This time it just like
the
fact that Shin, like I'm in there, I'm like, where's Shin and Balin? Like these characters were like every week.
Yeah.
We want to know more about these characters.
And they become more and more interesting as well. Like, yeah.
They have no involvement in this finale episode at all, which is fine if you want to bring him in later. I think it hurts a little more because we know Ray Stevenson's gone. So
that's the biggest kicker, I think. And I think I feel like we'd still have criticisms, but we would be a little bit more forgiving if we knew that they were going to be able to do the stuff with Ray Stevenson. Don't get me wrong. I think they're still going to do whatever they had planned. I think they'll have to change it. They either recast or they pivot in terms of the direction that they take it. I think they've got options that they can, but I think knowing that Ray's not going to be there to complete that story on his own, it leaves us with that same taste that we have when we know that Carrie Fisher's not going to be there to be able to do Rise of Skywalker. It's akin to that, where it's like, it's deflating. It's just deflating because we know that story isn't going to be able to play out exactly how they wanted it to play out.
Right. But also, like, I've been saying this
it doesn't play out in this season. It just doesn't have anything. Yeah.
I've been saying this whole time that this show feels so focused that Dave Filoni feels like he has a set goal in mind. And sure, that goal might be for the future season 2 or a movie. But at the same time, when it comes to this season, they feel so they're so left out of this finale. Like, I'm like, well, why'd I even bother?
Yeah, why include them? Or if you're gonna,
at least I understand if you're gonna have Balin be off on his own journey, that's one thing. But where's Shin?
Yeah, Like the last thing that we know, she was like going back to Thrawn. She was fighting with the Imperial troops and stuff like that, and then she just runs off, and it's like, where go now? Like, because she didn't have the
we need
disillusion.
some.
She didn't have the disillusion that Balin did. Like him doing his thing, completely understandable. She didn't have that, and Balin sensed that and sent her off to go with Thrawn, because he's like, all right, you do that, fine, but.
It's
without a
need,
scene, yeah.
It's like, oh, we need a lightsaber person for season 2.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Or I still think like
Stevie's here. Brad Brooks is here. I'm just gonna go through them real quick.
Yeah, we got
Papa Loco's here. I think that might be.
No,
Tom, Sarah's here.
Sarah's here. Tom Holland's here.
Oh, Darth Theory's here. Tom's here.
Jeremy Kelly's here.
Oh yeah, they're all. Yeah, I forgot we started.
And then Shiny Plastic People also here and enjoyed the episode, which great. That's awesome. Do hit that like button. Super Hans asking, is there a season 2 confirmed? No, nothing is confirmed yet, but you don't have a season finale like that without everyone being on board to do a season 2, do you? Like, that's lunacy. Like, you just can't do that. So I feel like it's all but confirmed. Again, there were strikes happening around the time that these things would be going on and are still going on. So let's give it a week or two, and then we can start being like, guys, we need some announcement now, please.
Right. I'm one of those guys who get mad at people for after seeing one episode of a larger story, get mad at it. How come they didn't bring up Kanan? How come this? How come that? And I'm always like, okay, well, it's a story. It's only a little bit of the story. Wait till we get to the whole thing. And so when I got to this point, I'm like, I don't know. There's definitely things that had me scratching my head, and it might just be stuff that's set up for later. But at the same time, I felt like this felt like a penultimate episode.
I think this season should have been 10 episodes. We got 8. Yeah. And I enjoyed the 8 that we got. I enjoyed this episode, but I think this episode would have been able to would have paid off so much more if we had one episode that it doesn't need to be like 100% full bottle, like we were sort of potentially expecting the Palpatine World episode to be. It can be split like that episode was. But if one of them has a lot of the flashback for the 10 years that Ezra is there, so we get a bit of Ezra getting away and like something with him, and we get Thrawn waking up the Night Sisters. Like, we got that as a throwaway line from Ezra that he woke up the Night Sisters. No. We don't know why they have such an allegiance to him, and I think that would be nice to know, because they are dedicated.
I feel like they're using him as a muscle. Like they know he's able to.
They're both using each other for mutual gain.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah, but I mean,
let's see some of that.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is that?
That was already spoken in this show by Shin or Balin. So I would have liked some of that, and then we could have had a bit more, and we would have known more. And in that same time, we could have been getting some Balin and Shin flash, that could have been the cutaway. So we're getting the characters that we know, or pre-existing characters that we know, doing their thing 10 years in the past, or over a 10-year span. And then we're getting some Balin and Shin doing what they're doing and getting some more motivation, some more development with them. And then one of
them doing a Tales of the Jedi thing.
Maybe that'd be great. I'd love it. But is that the way that you want to tell this story? Like,
no,
the show is right there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the show relies so much on your knowledge of Rebels and Clone Wars.
I wish that Luch Johnny was here, because he's not seen Rebels. Well, he's not seen Clone Rebels. He might have seen some of Clone Wars.
I don't think
maybe not either. I'd like to hear from him now, seeing the finale, because he was enjoying it up through the episode that he was on with us a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I'm really glad that Liz is waiting to watch this until after watching Rebels, because there's a lot.
Yeah, it makes more sense. I'm going to bring up two things that I thought were really awesome, that I really enjoyed. Uh, uh, well, I didn't like that Kanan's lightsaber's gone, that they just made like a replica. I got kind of sucked into the new Rockstar saying that Kanan's lightsaber is probably in Thrawn's office.
It might still be.
It might still be. It was kind of cool seeing it in live action, but
it's great.
And
it does work with that. There has been like Luke's lightsaber is very similar to Obi-Wan's lightsaber. Anakin's is like reminiscent. Vader's is reminiscent of Anakin's. There's so much of that. It is like having him build a recreation. I liked it a lot.
And I think inside joke, which I thoroughly enjoyed, was him saying that the blade emitter was too narrow.
Yeah.
Because I know Kanan's lightsaber in at least season 1 of Rebels is real skinny.
Yeah. Yeah. But it does have that big sort of flared out bit at the end. But yeah, the blade itself is
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I absolutely loved, 100%, and it's been going for the last 2 weeks, is Ezra.
It's
so perfect.
Yeah.
When he grabs the comlink off the dead stormtrooper and responds,
thanks the dead body, like, yep.
But it's the voice.
It's on the voice
to be a stormtrooper voice,
and he's been doing it since he was 14 years old. Like,
yeah. Like I was like, this is amazing.
It instantly makes you go, oh, so that's how he got away from the Chimera in the first place. Like he just did something very similar to that. He was a cheeky little fuck and just put on a helmet and ran away. Like that's what he does.
When he dragged that body away, I was like, this is amazing.
Yep.
This is 100% Ezra. It was written perfectly and performed perfectly. He must have watched every episode of Rebel multiple times and really studied the performance, or maybe got together with the original voice actor.
Potentially, that'd be cool. Specific interactions as well. Him and Sabine, their back and forth is pitch perfect, I think.
Yeah.
When they're in the
Dave
hallway.
Wrote this episode. Dave Filoni wrote this episode.
He wrote all of it. He wrote the season, I think. I believe so.
So those are my positives.
Yeah, when he's in the hallway and Sabine is like wants to shoot and he's like, oh, no. The way he's just like, wait, like not really fully trusting, and then she stabs him and he's complimentary, and she's fires back with, oh, what's your problem? Like, why weren't you this good? And he's like, well, I was missing you. It's they've got that sort of flirty banter back and forth that they've always had. Just now they are older and can appreciate that each other are both very hot. Whereas back then she's just like, all right, little boy, go away.
Yeah. Got on the same wolf.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. Yeah. There was some hands around waist. It was a nice little romantic wolf ride. The wolves that then disappeared as soon as they got in there, but then were back as soon as they were back out. Nitpick. That's a silly little nitpick. It's TV. I really liked Huyang because Huyang and Ezra have never met before. This is their first interaction, so they don't know each other. Right. Ezra allows Huyang to have some exposition about how old he is. That character can be in anything at any point in time, which is great. You love to see it. And then when Huyang first hears about Kanan, he's like, oh yeah, Caleb. He was he drops the Caleb name, like Caleb Doom being his name that he would have known Huyang as. It's just dropped once. Again, it's an Easter egg for Rebels fans that isn't completely essential. I was curious why they weren't seemingly in any sort of urgency to get back to the Chimera earlier on, until the TIE fighters arrived.
I don't know.
They were just sort of having a little roll at the speed of the carts. They didn't seem to be bothered at all. That was weird to me.
I have so many logic issues with this show. I said it last week. I've said it multiple times. Rick Famuyiwa, I just don't like his Star Wars. I
think his first episode that he did is my favorite of the bunch, which is weird because it's one of a lot of people's least favorite Mando season 1 episodes. It's the
child.
No, the bounty hunter episode. Oh no, he did do that one as well. Yeah, no, that
he did.
Yeah, that is his first one. Yeah, I like the bounty hunter one. The one where they're on the prison ship.
Yes, I didn't care for that episode. Also, I think he did the one with the one that sent around Bill Burr.
Yeah, that in
which
season
I actually
1.
liked no, the other one, the one where they're
that one's great.
Mando takes his helmet off or takes the stormtrooper helmet off. That I thought that was a good one.
Good.
I just like this had totally the same flavor as the Mando season 3 finale, which he also directed, which I'm just like, I don't care about any of the action. There's no stakes. Here's the thing. They're in the castle. They take out the stormtroopers.
Yep.
And then they get the Night Sisters reanimate them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not like any extra special powers. They're just slower.
They're just
and
zombies.
They can still cut them down and just
they're getting back
retreat and run up. And there's plenty of working doors, fully functioning doors that are helping them out. There's literally no tension.
I feel like
these zombied up troopers aren't adding anything to the story.
It's just it's a wall, isn't it? It's a moving wall that's just pushing them where they want to go anyway. But
great. But make the blast doors either not work or not there.
Yeah.
Make it so there's any sort of tension there. It's the action in this episode was so boring. The action is so
Fetz is here and he agrees with you. I don't think Fetz has been too hot in the series all the way through, but that's
let me
absolutely
ask this.
fine.
So Rob, let me ask you this. The action in this episode, I feel like, was definitely more boring than anything else in the rest of this season. I think the lightsaber battle was like my least favorite of the series.
Oh wow, I loved it.
I thought it was here, but also like, okay. So the Night Sisters, we open up with the Night Sisters turning Morgan into a witch with the finger things and the stuff. And then they give her a sword. A sword I've never seen before.
Me neither. They call it the Blade of Talzin, which is obviously reference to Mother Talzin. But I don't think we've ever seen it before.
But what does that mean? It's not, it doesn't seem like it's an additional threat. It doesn't go through a lightsaber.
No.
So as far as I'm concerned, it might as well be Beskar or those lightning rods that Grievous's guards use.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, whatever this is, okay, it's supposed to be cool. But I know nothing about it, and they haven't explained to me in the episode why this is cool. Also, did Morgan get powers?
I think she got powered up. I think she was
how would I know that when the lightsaber battle looks exactly the same as her lightsaber battle in The Mandalorian with Morgan? Like, it looked exactly the same. And it's like, this isn't raising the stakes for me. And she dies. And again, this is me talking about a story hasn't been completed yet. She dies so unceremoniously. She's used just to kind of make sure to stall for Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
She gets taken out, sliced to the stomach right away, and then cut to Thrawn. Well, I mean, she gets cut.
Yeah,
she gets cut in the stomach, and then right away they cut to Thrawn saying
she played a part. Yeah.
And it's like,
I agree with
sort of monologue or
I agree with some of the action.
This is the thing. This is my problem. I'm just going to bring this. I just want to bring this up real quick because this is a season finale, and I know there's stuff to set up for future stories. And I'm assuming that she's not dead. Her stomach glows green, and they gave her witch powers, and we're going to find out that that's what the witch powers were. But I feel like a finale should have some sort of closure.
I agree. I think that's at the end of her. I don't think she's coming back.
You don't think she's coming back?
No. I think she's done. I think that was her big finale episode. That's why they put so much focus on her in this episode. I think that was her swan song.
But with no story.
She's never had a story. Though. She's a lackey. She's a pawn. And Thrawn was the only one who knew that she was a pawn. She thought she was more important than she was. Thrawn used her as a pawn the whole way. That's why when he sort of is sweet talking her,
Thrawn says for the Empire, she says for Dathomir, and I'm like, that has no meaning to me.
No, she's elevating herself. She thinks she's more important than she is. The sisters think, okay, cool. As a night sister, she's got us home. She's played her part to them. She's getting them home, or to their new home. And Thrawn is always just like, you used to build ships for me, cool. You got my ring here, cool, thanks. You're sending me back, cool. Now just go and defend me. Like he doesn't give two shits about her, and the way that he talks to her, it was very gaslighty, like manipulating her. It's like, I really need you. I need you. I like, without your help right now, I can't do this. And she's like, okay, yes, sir, okay. But
there's no character arc where she realizes she's been betrayed, or it doesn't matter, or anything
she still
like
believes that she's important to the very end.
But you don't hear any of that. She just gets sliced in the stomach, and then that's it.
And I don't know. There's ways of looking at it where it's like, if they started explaining all of that, it would feel cheap as well.
I have a feeling her witch powers are the reason why she has witch powers, is so she could come back.
Maybe. I thought it was just a level up, because we've seen her get beaten before by Ahsoka, so now she needs to be a threat. And she, like you said, that she, like, that was quite a long fight. I think they could have probably shortened it, but they fight on multiple different levels. And she cuts Ahsoka's lightsaber. She holds her own for quite a while.
Right.
And I liked it. I like the way, I mean, again, it's the same as their last fight, when the coolest stuff on it is when it's the one wide shot and you're just seeing them go back and forth. It was, potentially that actress is just very good swordswoman. And that's why she's been
related to Bruce Lee.
Okay, great. So almost certainly does a lot of her own stuff. It was the best that I thought Rosario looked with a blade throughout the whole series. Yeah, I really like that, but I do think that some of the other action, like, was a bit like, all right, cool. Like, we got it, zombie troopers. Yep, that should have just been like a wall. The death troopers, the dead death troopers, were just a threat. The death troopers have always just been a bit like, you look cool, but you don't do anything really impressive.
Rip off an arm or something. Do something where I'm just like, these guys are
thing with Rick, and that's what confuses me. And I think the reason that he directed this finale is because they knew it was going to be a big action episode. They wanted a big action episode, and they're like, right, a lot of it is going to have to be volume based. Rick's got a lot of experience shooting action in the volume. Let's go with the experienced guy. When, like, someone like Bryce maybe would have been a better choice.
Howard's great.
That was the first thought. Steph Green. Yeah.
All of the women that direct these Star Wars have been amazing.
Yeah. I would have
get rid of these dudes.
And I really do like Rick as a director, like his other films. And Dope is an amazing movie. But
is there action in Dope?
There's minimal, very, very minimal. Like, and it's like a kids running away from something. It's not an action fight. I would rather see him do like more character-based comedy stuff, or things like that, character-based at least. Because I feel like that's where he shines better. Because the character moments, I think, were really good in this episode. It just wasn't enough of it. There wasn't enough carrying on the character development that we've already had. I feel like it fell a little bit flat in service to action runtime, when the action wasn't of the same quality. Yeah.
You can really feel the directors in this show.
Yeah, this show, I think, yeah, definitely. I guess. Yeah.
Jeremy Kelly says her Liku were really bouncy this episode. I've noticed.
I didn't know.
I've noticed. I've been staring at them like the whole series, and I'm like, yeah, they look kind of cool.
They do.
Like, I don't know.
I think they look really
They almost got the prosthetics to match the bounciness of that sort of Rebels, Clone Wars.
The way that they, yeah.
Says she thinks she'll come back.
Okay, the Thousand Sword being a pretty big deal. Yeah, they did make a lot of it. Maybe, but didn't Ahsoka take that at the end? So,
well, I mean, for season 2, we have Ahsoka and Sabine, 2 protagonists on a planet with Shin, Balin's probably out of the picture, so they'll probably need a second antagonist. And I think Shin and
Unless
Morgan.
I think maybe Shin just goes to follow Balin and picks up his story. They'd have to do a pivot there. Maybe we just get whatever Balin is going for as a new, like, yes, and we just get a Balin skull found me, blah blah blah, like a bit of yada yadaing over what would have been his stuff. Let's talk about that because we get him for all of about 12 seconds.
Right.
But where we get him is a big deal.
Right.
Because that is the father. He stood on the father, and next to him we see the son, and we do see the daughter, but the daughter is lost her head because in the Clone Wars, in the Mortis arc of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka dies, full on dies, and the daughter gives her life force to resurrect Ahsoka. And that is when Morai, the owl, comes into it all. You're making a face. I'm sure that this is sort of your least favorite Star Wars stuff.
Sorry, it's a reaction to Fett's comment,
right,
which I'm going to star right now, and we'll discuss that.
We'll get that. We'll get back to it. Yeah, I am not an expert on any of the Mortis stuff by any stretch. It's one of the things that I know the least about, and I've not really put in the time because people go hard on that. So I'm sure that there's a lot of people that know it better than I do. But yeah, I know that the daughter sacrificed herself, so having her like without a head there, really kind of interesting. Having Morai, the owl, pop up at the end when Ahsoka sees her, that's key as well, because that is like the embodiment of that. Like we've seen it in loads of different places that it shouldn't be, like the world between worlds. And here it's it's a token of Ahsoka at this point. It's connected, and that came up from the Mortis stuff. What he's looking at, that mountain with something coming out of it in the distance, I don't know. There are people on the internet who think that is the mother or Abeloth, which is from some of the last EU books before the buyout. I think it was Fate of the Force or something like that. Fate of the Jedi, maybe. It was a 9-book series that I didn't read. I wasn't reading all of that stuff at that point. Way in the future, and it does tie into all of that. It's the mother. It's another one of those Mortis gods. Whether it's that, whether it's something completely different, whether it's the father himself, he's said that he wants to find the beginning to end it all.
Brad Brooks mentions that if Balin is going to be the father, could they get away with a transformation recast?
That's potentially. I think that's the way. That's what I'm sort of saying is if they are.
My only knowledge of them is what I saw in Rebels, and I probably should have absorbed more of the information that was given to me at that time. But a recast it's real rough, man. It's got to be someone pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe get Thomas Jane, get a different Punisher in there.
I do love Tom Jane. He is a beautiful weirdo.
And then cast Dolph Lundgren, and then who else played Punisher? Who's the dude from Walking Dead that played Shane?
Oh, John Barenthal.
Yeah,
Barenthal. Yeah.
But I feel like, I mean, if you recast, like
it does. Yeah, Stevie says it's got to be someone pretty good too. It really does. Like what Ray did was like above and beyond what I think anyone expected from this. From that,
and with his story in this, I fully am on board with, because we were saying no face mapping.
No, I agree. No.
Was that we kind of hoped that his end of the journey was here and he was moving on. But with this shot of him on top of the statue, it's like
his story's just getting going.
You're promising a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how this works. But a recast, it's a tough situation. But it's clearly a story that they want to tell. So they left it in.
Yeah, that's true. They had the opportunity to remove that and to change some things up. There was something earlier on.
They could have had Shin been there.
Yeah, exactly. They could have just
standing with him, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then it could be explained away later that he was
he sacrificed himself so that she could complete his mission, something like that.
Yeah.
I agree. They've had enough time to be able to do stuff if they wanted to, but I think they want to do with the way that they're doing it.
It's so funny because it's only like 8 episodes, and he was in it, per
7 of
episode
them,
probably, yeah, but just like maybe like
20 minutes screen time
5% of the
total.
time,
Yeah,
total.
probably
And the impact he left was like,
huge,
oh no, we can't.
amazing.
Like this is like Boba Fett level. Like Boba Fett was in the original trilogy for like, I don't know, like a total of something like 10 minutes or something.
If that, yeah.
And if that. And but it's like, oh, it's so awesome.
But
that you can't really.
But this time there's actually some character there. We just didn't get enough of it.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. I guess Boba Fett's kind of a blank slate.
He was,
but yeah, I mean, to recast, it seems like, yeah, he hasn't been in Star Wars that much, but instantly became like
iconic, kind of an iconic villain. Like, or not even villain. That's what makes him so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw some people just sort of saying like they wished that Thrawn had been just dangled as a end of credits like teaser for the season and not used, and that the focus had been on them. And as much as I did enjoy Thrawn in this season, I don't hate that as an idea. I don't hate it if it would have given them the screen time to be able to do more of there. I think that's interesting. There was some stuff. There was some quotes and things in some of the dialogue that I really enjoyed. When they were talking about Hu Yang mentioned like he noticed that or knows that the relationship between a master and an apprentice is as challenging as it is meaningful. I thought that was really sweet, and that then made Sabine feel self-conscious and go, right, I need to talk to my master here. So she went and had her conversation with Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people thought that Sabine shouldn't have been forgiven or needed more of a punishment or anything like that. And I feel like the Ahsoka at the beginning of the series she would have like given her a tongue lashing. She would have just sort of said, you screwed up. I told you not to do this, yada, yada, yada. I feel like Ahsoka post Anakin like episode, there's so much more there. She has come to peace with everything, all of her own insecurities, because Ahsoka is someone who has always had these insecurities, and Sabine is someone who's had insecurities all the way through as well, and guilt that she feels over everything. I think this version of Ahsoka is saying, you screwed up, yes, but I know that you know that, so I'm not gonna berate you. You've already done that to yourself, so I've got your back. I trust that you have learned from your mistakes and that going forward you will not make them again, and that no matter what you do, I'm going to trust you. I'm not going to second guess you. I will support you in whatever you want to do. And I like that it was unspoken. It was subtext. But for me, there was enough of it there in the looks and what we've already seen this season that it is there if you want it to be.
Right. What'd you think of her going back?
Sabine?
Yeah.
I thought it was as soon as we saw Ahsoka coming up the stairs, I assumed that that's what it was going to be, and I liked it because it's that the relationship that she has with Ahsoka at this point is more important than the relationship that she has with Ezra. Yeah. She was doing this thing for Ezra. We'll talk about that in a minute. But she was doing this to get Ezra home, but then she saw Ahsoka and she was like, she needs my help. She assumed that she needed her help. We don't know, potentially. And I feel like just on a time-wise thing, Ahsoka wouldn't have been able to get out of there without Sabine sticking around. So they helped each other. That's been the through line of this whole thing. Is Hu Yang said it to him early on. It's like, you were always better when you were together. Mm-hmm. And every opportunity they've had, even earlier in this episode, they split. And it was Sabine that was saying, no, we should stay together. And Ahsoka's like, no, don't worry, I've got this. And then it took Sabine saying, no, we stick together. That's how we get through this. And so I like that is what kept them both alive.
Yeah. We got to see the force push jump thing in live action. They did that in Rebels a lot.
And that's a classic. Yeah. Kanan and Ezra, and then Maul and Ezra.
Yeah.
Like it's a big Ezra move. So I like the fact that Sabine saw it and went, that thing that you guys used to do, I can do that now. She knew it in her head. Ezra didn't know that she knew that. And again, I feel like in the set we saw people getting leveled up in this episode. I think we saw Morgan get leveled up when she got that sword and she got made a night witch or whatever. And then Sabine got leveled up and she was empowered and probably unlocked some of her forciness when she had that faith put into her by her master. Her master finally said, I believe in you, and meant it. And so that sort of gave her the self-confidence and it unlocked it.
What do you think of her moment of using the force and grabbing the lightsaber?
So I don't think she did anything with the door. I think she was just holding her hand out. She didn't do any of that shit.
Yeah.
She grabbed her lightsaber. That's exactly what I was expecting. Was a lightsaber grab in a crucial moment. That was all I was expecting, and sort of at the time I was hoping for, and probably still was only hoping for that amount.
Those dudes look like predators under those masks, those helmets.
I don't know. The way that
off the helmet, it looked like there was a weird something.
Yeah, mandible or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a what was the species that Rook was? No, it's not one of those. The Thrawn guards, the ones that they'd enslaved.
Tom asked whatever happened to the force speed thing where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon used in episode 1 would have been handy in this episode.
It would have been handy in every episode ever again. Like it's no, we don't talk about the force run.
Yeah. So we end up with Ezra being the only one back. Ezra and Thrawn are the only ones back.
Yep.
They just
Thanks, Jeremy Nogri.
I don't know. It's I don't know. I was whatever with it.
What about the push though? Like like we were talking about, like Sabine being able to do the push.
I mean, okay, so she just figured out how to grab a lightsaber, which is fairly light. But for her to have faith in herself to be able to do that force push on Ezra, like you could tell Ezra was like, "Oh man,
this is it. I'm just going to my death."
You can see his wheels turning on. Like, okay, so what's my plan B if she can't pull this off?
It's just trust. I think he's just trust and blind faith.
But then so she does get him, and it's great. There's the moment where you're like, "Oh, did he fall?" Of course he didn't fall.
Of course he didn't fall, but it's a
pulls
cute
up,
Rebelsy moment. It's a very Rebelsy moment.
Fights the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
But I noticed ever since he got the lightsaber, he doesn't use the force during his fighting as much.
He did once or twice, I think, downstairs, like in the doorway bit. Like he was sliding around and he was just like, there'd be like a boof over there and then cut. I loved that because I thought they're all using what they've got. So Ahsoka's got her double blades. Ezra was using force and lightsaber. And then because Sabine was using a lightsaber, but then still getting shot quite a bit, it was like, switch to guns. You're better at range. Like you're not the melee combat guy. Like you hang back and do the range. We've got the melee. Like it's just good for any party. Anyone who's played Gloomhaven knows that you should have a bit of both.
Yeah. One of my notes is the Jedi ship is broken. It's fixed.
Yeah.
It's broken. It's fixed.
Yeah.
It's broken. It's like, guys, just break it once or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
it only worked when they needed it to work. Kind of drove me nuts. Oh, I just remembered this too. Let's see if I could.
Oh, what did you love?
It's hard. Well, not a lot. So here's the thing. So we're like, this whole time we're like, there's going to be one way off this thing. It's going to be the Chimera.
Yep.
And at the beginning of the season, we're like, there's only one way they're going to get to this place. It's the
Purgo.
It's the Purgo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just like, it doesn't seem like a big deal that they're on this other galaxy, because at the end of this, they're just like, oh, it's going to be the Purgo. The Purgo are back.
They're not going to go there naturally. I think that's the thing with Purgo. Like they went there to help, but they don't go there. Like I think that's the whole point of having the rings and have it be there. That's the end of their migration pattern, is they go there to die. They're naturally just going to go there to die. But having Ezra back, and Ezra and his connection to Purgo, and having already gone there, I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. It's like, well, now they can just go back. Yeah.
Yeah, and that Sabine sensed that there were shadows in the sky or something. I
feel like that was just her sort of feeling Anakin's presence.
Oh, I was assuming that was her sensing that the Purgo are back.
I did at first, but then as soon as we saw Anakin, like I was like, that's just her getting a feeling.
It's kind of dorky.
Feels like what?
Yeah.
I
don't know. I don't know what I thought about that, but I'm gonna go back to this start thing from Rob. So Fett said, does Ahsoka prove that Favreau is the key to making good Star Wars?
Oh, I hate that sentiment so much.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Tony Gilroy, making good Star Wars.
He probably doesn't even know who Ahsoka is.
He probably doesn't. And maybe that's a good thing.
Yes, there should be different voices.
Because Fetz did mention that, this is like 8 episodes of the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV gif, like the image, which is a lot. I think there's certain things that are, kind of inside jokes, like the narrow blade emitter.
Yep.
I think that's 100% for the fans of Rebels who said that Kanan's lightsaber blade is too thin,
and that's super niche one as well. Like that's more than like the character moments that they actually do. That one's
being like a diehard Star Wars fan, you're gonna pick up on these things a lot more than casual viewers,
of course.
Which is one thing. As far as Favreau goes, I have my own thoughts on Favreau. I think he's here just to try to make Star Wars cool because he wants Star Wars to be cool.
I think he's living out a childhood fantasy. Like everyone says it.
Toys.
He's playing with toys.
Filoni is the kid that read all the EU novels and is going into the Star Wars a lot deeper. Gilroy likes military space sci-fi stuff. I wouldn't say that Favreau is making anything good. I'm not going to say he's making anything bad, but what I do think is important is that we're seeing a lot of different flavors. Even in this series, like some episodes feel very different, and it's the directors fully.
Yep.
I think it's the fully every single director. So there's some stuff that I like from Favreau. There's some stuff I like from Filoni. Filoni gets really mystical, which I'm not into mystical that much.
I feel like that's his Lord of the Rings love comes through. But it's very apparent. Yeah.
Right. And Gilroy's probably mostly into spy thrillers from the 70s and stuff. And so like you have Gareth Edwards who does his thing. I don't know if you got to see The Creator.
I loved The
Creator.
I did too. Oh my god,
it feels like Gareth Edwards. And when you watch The Creator and you watch his Godzilla and this movie Monsters, you're like, yes, Rogue One feels like Gareth Edwards.
It's a Gareth Edwards film through and through. Like,
so it's one of those things where it's just like I kind of like the variety.
Yeah.
This felt like Filoni. This show felt like Filoni.
Yeah.
Andor feels like Gilroy. Mandalorian definitely feels like Favreau, but I don't need Favreau and Filoni to show run every Star Wars show.
No,
I want different flavors. John Watts is doing Skeleton Crew.
Yep.
Which I'm excited for.
I
think that's the next series we're doing. We're going to be doing.
Yeah, it was meant to be out at the end of this year. It's been pushed now to like early next year.
Right. And what I like about it is it seems like it's not part of Filoni or Favreau. It seems like it's
Maybe
fully John Watts
I
thing.
feel like it's its own thing in terms of show, but they've said a few times about it being off somewhere completely different. Whether that means in a different galaxy, maybe it means in this galaxy, not in that
Mhm.
in the other galaxy. We don't know. Maybe that's how the gang get home, is a group of kids and Jude Law pick them up. But I doubt it. I think it is going to be its own thing.
Yeah.
And maybe at the very end it has some connection. Um, but I
Yeah.
feel like, I mean,
So
that's always been pitched as your Stranger Things in Star Wars sort of
yeah.
style, which is fine. That's kids on bikes in space bikes, and Jude
Yeah.
Law looking great in a coat.
Yeah. So Rob says Mando season 1 and 2 and Andor are his top tier Star Wars TV. I agree with Andor. I'm
Andor.
not the hugest Mandalorian fan.
I like season
There's
2.
episodes I really like.
Yeah, me too. And more,
Um,
there's more in season 2 than there is in either of the other 2 seasons.
like the Bryce Dallas Howard episodes, I think are standouts. Steph
Uh-huh.
Green has done some standouts. Steph
Steph
Green
Green's
did
Book of Boba Fett
Book
episode
of
was
Boba Fett
amazing. Second
2.
episode of that is fantastic.
I love it. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's all these different flavors, and I prefer the variety. I know it's probably easier to stick with Filoni and Favreau because they started this whole thing with Star Wars TV, and
having Filoni as an exec producer on everything makes sense as like he is the George Lucas, like he's the guy
right.
in charge of that sort of side of things. That's fine. He answers directly to Kathy and no one else really, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like Favreau was the name. He's like the Hollywood name who came in at the right time with Mando, which is why he's exec producing on all of these. But I don't think he does anything to do with. I don't think he had anything to do with this show. I don't think he had really anything to do with Obi-Wan. Like, I feel like he's very much in the Mandalorian.
And I liked Obi-Wan.
I liked Obi-Wan. I just watched the first episode again last night. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. It's a different showrunner. I prefer. Listen, Star Wars has been going on for 46 years.
Yeah.
So I like different flavors.
I do.
I think Andor was a really
completely agree that not
air.
everything has to be for everyone.
Yeah.
We say it all the time, but yeah, if you like this show all the way through, amazing. If you liked 7 out of the 8 episodes, amazing. If you like my dog, if you don't, you're just wrong and you should leave. Because she's great. Ellie. Look, that's for you. That's for you. Yeah. Oh, do you want to come and join us?
Yeah, Tom Holland asks, of course Tom Holland would ask this, as in Spider-Man MCU, John Watts? Yes.
Yeah. And what's his name? Who he co-wrote Spider-Man with, I believe. Freaks and Geeks.
The shit.
The main guy from Freaks
and Dungeons and Dragons dude.
Yeah. I think he's.
Did you see Dungeons and Dragons?
I haven't yet. No, I keep on meaning to.
So fun.
I've heard.
It's so fun. I'm not a big Dungeons and Dragons fan, but the movie.
No,
was
but
so
you're
fun.
a big Chris Pine fan. I know that.
Oh, I mean, he's fine.
He's okay. Okay, I thought you were a massive Chris Pine fan.
Oh no, I mean, I like him. He's cool.
Cool. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, dog's just going to be on camera now. I think she's noticed that she's on camera, so she's going to just show off.
That's fine.
Yeah. So I like that that's coming, and I think that will be different. Beyond that, let's see, because we don't really know. Like, I don't need a Mando season 4. I don't dislike the show, but at this point, I'm like, that was an ending. And the way that it irised out on those guys, like, so goofy and weird. I kind of loved that.
Yeah.
Let that be its own thing until after the Heir to the Empire movie, where we know all these guys are coming to go to it. Do some other Mando versy stuff. Give me some Bo-Katan, Mandalore show. I'd be down for that. But leave Din and Grogu on the farm for now.
Yeah.
Definitely need more Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And the most ideal thing. So say they were able to tell everything how they wanted to tell it. Ray Stevenson was still with us and was coming back, and everyone was coming back, and it was greenlit and we knew that they were in production and that it was coming next year, I feel like it would be like old network TV where there'd be a season finale of Lost, and some of the plots were like, yeah, that was great, that was awesome, but then other bits I'm like, all right, well that plot line happened. But then by the beginning of next season, they pick up where that plot line just happened, and you're more forgiving of it because it just rolls into the next thing. And I feel like with season 2 of Ahsoka, the best thing that they can do is to make you forget that this was a season finale and that this is just the next episode into the next show.
What if they just dropped one next week?
The world would go nuts. And we wouldn't be taking a week off like we're going to do next week because we've got a pre-recorded episode.
Oh, yeah. We got a pre-recorded episode next week. Our interview
talking about Rogue One. Yeah.
A conversation with Gary Witta. It's not an interview. We don't do
no,
that.
It's a conversation. We had a sit-down chat with Gary Witta. Oh, rad. It's Force Ghost Ralph at a rave.
I'm trying to remember all of them. We went through, me, Jorge, and Mick, went through all of them, like just trying to figure them all out. But yeah, so anybody. Rob, remember Lost a show with a story for each episode and an overarching plot? Yeah. What a time to be alive. Hey, they started it kind of.
Yeah,
I know Twin Peaks
really.
was around, and X-Files kind of did it. Green Lantern, the animated series, did it.
Did it.
So Alex is having a bit of a brain melt asking about Hu Yang. I believe he's talking about Hu Yang. Hu Yang was in the Clone Wars.
Hu Yang was in the Clone Wars, wasn't in Rebels,
and was voiced by David Tennant.
Yeah.
So it's a recurring character.
There's a few of those in the show. I think I've said all I want to say. I will happily talk to anyone if they want to continue conversation about this. Hit me up on Blue Sky. Hit me up if you need a Blue Sky invite. I will happily talk to you about this for the rest of time because I did enjoy this a lot. I definitely enjoyed it more than Ralph. There was things that weren't great. For me, biggest thing that wasn't great was just missing Balin and Shin. That was that was just a whiff, complete whiff in my respect. But we'll see. If they do it, if their story is told really well next season, it all will be forgiven, really.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. Next week, as we just said, we've got a conversation with Gary Witta that we recorded a few weeks ago. I was going to say to you, do we want to do a bumper beforehand? Because we talked about some stuff that was time relevant at the time, like writer's strike that has now been resolved, and his book that is now out. I feel like you're getting it here.
You know what I'll do is I'll drop in at the beginning when it was recorded, and then we should be good.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. But that's coming next week. It was a great conversation. Please tune into that. Also really relevant now because of that recent interview that came out with Gareth Edwards talking about Rogue One and the fact that that's his movie. Like, yes, Tony Gilroy came in and wrote some stuff on it and did some stuff and helped them, but all of this talk that Tony Gilroy saved that movie and all that, it's not true. That is a team effort, and Gary talks about that. So tune in. It's well worth a listen. Gary's lovely, and check his book out. But you'll hear all about that next week.
Yeah, and I know we started early, and I know we have a little bit of time left before you have to go to work.
Yeah.
Stick around today. I have stuff to talk about real quick with you. Private stuff.
Okay.
Private stuff. Yeah, because usually bounce during the end credits.
Yeah, I need to normally, but yeah, if we're wrapping up now, then I'll be able to find out these secret things that you audience are not involved in. You might be. I don't know what it is.
So come by next week. I might set it as a premiere so you can do some live chatting while it's running. It'll also be a regular episode, so it will go up on the audio feed. I think the week after that we'll come back to Data Link.
Yep.
In 2 weeks.
Which we will figure out, but I think I'm off that week if I remember rightly. So we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Cool. So we might be able to do something fun.
Cool.
We will have to sort all of that out yet. We don't know what that data link's going to be yet, but stay tuned. Follow us on all the socials, even the ones that we don't really use. We'll post stuff on there. Yeah. And let us know what you thought about the series and if you want to talk about it some more, because I'd like to.
Comment, tell your friends, all that stuff.
Do all that fun stuff. We don't push it too hard on you, but yeah, it does help. So do that.
Yeah.
And if you like all the new artwork for the episodes that is going up, if it's coming up on your feed,
the square artwork,
the square artworks that are coming up, that's all Ralph. We'll see if it's working on.
It's not. Podcasts. I'm trying to get it to work on Apple Podcasts. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I'm going to keep at it.
It's weird.
So
there's always something, but it does look great. And thank you, Ralph, for doing all that.
Thanks.
Until next week.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you'll see us next week. We won't see you next week. But until next week, don't give it to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Punch it.